Hi, it's Terry from Homestead Honey, and I am standing here in what hopefully will be our future house. We're out here in the land right now and looking at a pit that our excavator dug for us over the past few days to just try and do a little bit of reconnaissance work, figure out how deep our ledge is and whether or not we're going to be able to have a full basement. So I'll turn it around and show you what we've got going on. All right, so you can get a little bit of an idea of perspective. This pit is currently about, I don't know, 2.5, 3 feet deep. There's the dirt that has been dug out. It goes all the way over to there. We're sort of playing right now with the idea of like a 24 by 36 foot footprint, give or take. Still, design is in process, and a lot of the reason why the design is in process is because we weren't really sure what we'd find. So what we found, what the excavator found, and what we're going to talk to him about today to get more information is a lot of rock. So this rock here is really close to the surface. I think he chipped away at it a bit, but wasn't really able to get around it. That's pretty common around here. We knew that was something we might be dealing with, and we'll talk to him today, see what he says, and then have to make a house design that actually reflects the reality of our situation and not just wishful thinking. So when we last talked, we were just in the process of figuring out whether or not we could have a basement, and we had to bring in a different kind of excavator and consult with him. And so here's the results. We weren't able to get the full basement all the way around. We just ran into too much rock, and I'll show you that in a second. But I think we're going to have a crawl space, if not and actually, a basement that you can actually stand up in some areas of the house. So here is the pit. This will be our future house. And you can see, especially right down below here, this ridge right here of rock. It was just really close to the surface, really hard to get out. So that's where we have a little bit of a limiting factor, and then back there as well. But you can see the sort of corner markings for the house here. There's a little bit of a bump out. You can see that line. And then down to the corner over here and across. So it's really coming along. We'll just have to get some sand, gravel to level things out a little bit, and then we'll have some concrete work to be done. So we thought a lot about whether or not we wanted a full basement. Ultimately, the decision was made for us, but I'll give you a few of the pros and cons that we were toying with in case you're trying to decide if you should build a full basement in New England or a place with a cold climate. So probably 90% of the people that we talked to said that yes, there were some challenges with basements, but they absolutely loved their basement and couldn't imagine not having a basement. So the pros are just having that extra space that you can finish or not finish, having a cool place in the summer to hang out in, having a place that doesn't freeze so you can put utilities, you could wall off some of the basement as a root cellar and ventilate it properly. And just having that extra space that you could really use in a variety of ways. So that was the main pro, and that was the main pro for us too, especially because I would like to have a root cellar again. The cons, especially here in this area, radon is something that people are concerned about, and moisture is the other big one. And we're lucky we have a pretty dry site, so I don't think that moisture would be a huge problem up here. We can, work out drainage and get things really dialed in, but you just never know. You never know if you're going to have to run a dehumidifier. And because we're going to be off the grid, we just knew that running a dehumidifier constantly wasn't going to be an option. And another one of the cons was the expense. We have a very limited budget we're working with. We're trying to stick to that budget. We already have some loans. Sorry, bird. But we just can't go over that budget really. So the expense was a big one. And then also just, the environmental impact of using so much concrete. And that, it's one of those trade-offs. Like, we were willing to use the concrete to then be able to perhaps, store food in a root cellar instead of buying another refrigerator, or different trade-offs, having a cool place downstairs instead of running an air conditioner. So, there's always trade-offs, but In the end, what we really want is to build a house that will last for a long time, a house that is comfortable for our family, but also if we needed to sell someday, it is the kind of house that someone would want to buy and make their own. So we're thinking about now, we're thinking about potentially aging in place, we're thinking about potential future of who might own the house in the future. So lots of pros and cons, and I'd love to hear what you think about basements down in the comments.